Welcome everyone to Mind, Body, and Spirit, where the Good Life Living, Healthy Living classes host distinguished speakers every month to talk to our community about living better for longer. My name is Jeanette Merrick. I'm the program manager for the Good Life, where exercise and nutrition is medicine. And we love to know where you guys are joining us from today. So please make sure you drop that information in the chat for us, okay? We also like to say hello to everybody that's joining us from Facebook Live. Hello, Facebook family. It is important that I tell you that the Good Life is a growing national program that is being developed by a network of research centers across the country focused on supporting healthy aging. Together, we develop programming to promote healthy lifestyles and healthy relationships. We are dedicated to reversing the public health crisis of dementia affecting economically disadvantaged older adults, because we believe that the good life can be achieved by everyone. And the Good Life and the Mind, Body, and Spirit series, are developed by UC Davis Alzheimer's Disease Research Center in the East Bay, the City of Oakland Parks and Recreation, the National Institutes of Health, and the California Public Health. All right, so now before we get started, I'm going to go ahead and give you all some information about how to use Zoom. And so you'll see a small icon at the bottom of your screen that says chat. And when you click on that button at the bottom of that sidebar, you can actually type in any comments or questions that you have, and we have someone monitoring the chat, so we'll make sure that we get all of your questions answered, okay? And then also, if you want to click on the icon that's next to it that says participants, you can actually see everyone's name that's inside of the session with us. And so today, for today's speaker, we'll have about 20 minutes of presentation and about 10 minutes of Q&A afterwards, where you all can answer any questions. And without any further delay, today we are honored and excited to have Vicki Williams share insights and tips for maintaining heart health. Today, our guest speaker, Vicki Williams, has been a champion of health from a young age. Prior to joining the American Heart Association in 2008, she worked in the corporate sector for prominent Bay Area companies such as Safeway, Macy's, Visa USA. As a senior community impact director for the American Heart Association of the Greater San Francisco Bay Area, she develops and implements key awareness programs to help fight and prevent heart disease and stroke in the community. Vicki leads the Greater Bay Area's Diversity and Inclusion Employee Committee, which organizes workshops and resources. And without any further delay, I would like to introduce Miss Vicki Williams. Hi, Vicki.
Hello, can everybody see me okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here with you. Always excited just to talk. I remember back in the days pre-COVID of going to our senior centers and just speaking to our lovely seniors around what they're doing, the activities that they're doing, and then just giving additional tips around healthy living. So thank you again for having me here today. So I'm going to share my PowerPoint of just some things that I talk about when I go out into the community. Again, my main role focus around taking the research that we receive from the American Heart Association, our physicians, those that are researchers, and making sure that that is passed down to the community. So I'm going to share my screen with my PowerPoint. All right, here we go. So just a little background, just a little about the American Heart Association. So we were actually started in 1924 with some pioneering physicians, and today have grown to an organization with thousands of workers, thousands of volunteers. And the core of what we do is research around heart disease. Some of the findings from our research has been the stent, CPR guidelines. We release guidelines around blood pressure, which we'll get into, the AED. That has been some of the work that we have done. We are also, some of our work that we're championing now around advocacy stems around tobacco. flavored tobacco, banning that. We're doing a lot in the vaping space right now, unfortunately, and how that is another smoking epidemic that is taking over. Fast food, making sure that you know how much salt is on menus. So a lot of the work that we're doing is pioneer around healthy heart and heart health. Our mission is to be a relentless force for a world of longer, healthier lives. So that's what we're working for. And then again, just we note research, community outreach, advocacy, and corporate impact. Now, one of the things that I talk about is heart disease is the #1 killer of Americans. And so what we really try to do is talk about what is heart disease, what causes it. And one of the things that I have really been changing as of late, it's hard to say prevent, because we know that there are factors that come into play, such as race and such as gender. But one of the things I do like to say is you can help reduce your risk. And one of the things by doing that, which is very important, is knowing your family history. When you start there and you're able to pass that down from generation to generation, it really starts to make a difference in how people will move forward. One of the things that we like to focus on is what are those 7? So when we talk about your mind, spirit, and body, we talk about 7 areas that you can focus on when it comes to your health. So we talk about your smoking status. Obviously, we would like that to be that you do not smoke. Okay, that's not any area of moderation. That is a do not smoke. We know that the chemicals that are in the cigarettes are that causes the arteries to become clogged and blocked, which could lead to a heart attack or a stroke. Physical fitness activity, again, coinciding with getting your vitamin D, we recommend 30 minutes a day, or 30 minutes for at least 5 times a week. So that's around 150 minutes of exercise. However you get that, just to get that heart going. We also knows that helps with the mind. It helps with chronic diseases such as hypertension, cholesterol, and diabetes. So when you're combining diet and exercise, those two are a winning combination. Your weight, and what I say about this is that is one thing that you want to work with your doctor with, according to your height and your age, what is the appropriate weight. Again, I always say that everybody's not meant to be a size 4, size 6, size 8, but that's a conversation to definitely have with your doctor to see what is right for you and where you're at in your life. A diet, we'll talk about that. That is very important to your mind, spirit, and body. I know with so much going on, first the pandemic, and then as they said, the second pandemic, the racial pandemic, it was very stressful for a lot of us, and it still continues to be. And with that, you know, where was it? Was that in the moment when you need comfort? Healthy food was not always an option, or it wasn't something that you wanted to go to. So there have been talks about how health will be impacted during the pandemic. Some were on a health journey, some again, you know, unfortunately, it varied, but diet continues to play a very important role in your mind and your body and your spirit. And so we'll talk about that a little bit more as well. Glucose, as it relates to diabetes, your cholesterol, and then your your blood pressure, excuse me. So those are 7 areas when you look at your health. Those are areas that you want to pay attention to. And we just went over those there. So from your blood pressure, one of the things that we call normal blood pressure, what we say is normal blood pressure, is when you have a reading of below 120 over 80. I was talking to my mom this week who has hypertension, and she was going in for a checkup, and was just noticing how it fluctuates. And that the bottom number was actually higher than where we would want it to be. And although the top number was based on medication and where she is as having hypertension was fine, it was that lower number that the doctor wanted to circle back around to. And just to, I don't know if you can see it here on the screen, but just to remind you of what those numbers are. So the systolic is the top number that measures the flow of the blood flow when the heart is pumping. And then the diastolic number, which is that bottom number, measures the blood flow of the heart to the heart when the heart is at rest. And so when that number is higher, when the heart is supposed to be resting, that could cause some cause for concern as well. So again, one thing that I want to say is we know that, again, normal blood pressure is below 120/80. But again, if you do have hypertension, then that is a conversation with your doctor to see where that should be based on where you're at and your medication, and to work with your doctor to make sure that you're at a healthy level of where you're at. So some people may or may not be able to, when they're on having hypertension, be able to achieve that 120/80. Some people may or may not. But again, that's a conversation to have with your doctor. The other thing that's going to play a role, and you'll see it under the tips for success, is eating smart, watching the salt. We know that salt is one of your key components to hypertension. So whatever we can do, you want to read those food labels, look at how much salt are in the foods that you're eating, that you're preparing. And so we know that there are also some other alternatives. Mrs. Dash is no salt, using your citrus, all of that to get that flavor that, because salt is a flavor enhancer. So what other flavor enhancers can we do that are not salt or sodium based? I'm getting active, again, just getting whatever you're walking, just getting out and moving your body is so important because that helps to get the blood flowing in the body. So doing that, managing weight, again, going back to that conversation with your physician in terms of what that weight should be for where you're at in your life. Quit smoking. We know that that's hard, but just working with your physician on that, if that is an element, and then learn the salty six, which is pizza, which we all love, right? Processed meats, soups, love soups, but they are loaded in salt. Your breads, love bread as well, but loaded in salt. And then sandwiches and burritos. So again, just really, again, looking at how food plays a role in everything that we're consuming as it relates to blood pressure, glucose, or diabetes and cholesterol. When you're taking your blood pressure, one of the things that you want to remember is just to have your feet flat on the ground, be quiet, and then just to relax and take your blood pressure. So that's just a little tips here. And this information, this slide and the next slide too, Sherilyn, I do have that I can send electronically if anybody would like that, if they're taking their blood pressure at home. I'm not going to go, because I have 20 minutes, I'm going to breeze through this. And then I'm going to give some more tips about heart health here. But another thing, when it comes to your cholesterol, there's two types. There's your LDL, which is your bad cholesterol. And then there's their good cholesterol, that's your HDL. Together, you want to keep those two under 200, okay? Your bad cholesterol, where that comes from is your animal meats, so your fat, that's your saturated fat. So one way to help lower that, of course, would be to eliminate any saturated or trans fats. And having a plant-based diet definitely helps, not for everybody, but it's one way to help. But again, if you're looking at ways to reduce your cholesterol, look at the meat, your any meat, anything that comes from an animal is where a lot of your cholesterol is going to be coming from, the bad cholesterol. Diabetes, we know that that is connected to sugar, okay, and the insulin levels that is produced. When you're talking about this with your physician, we know that a normal, so just two numbers real fast. You have your daily number, which is a number that you'll get fasting when you go to the doctor. That could be 80, 97, or whatever the number is. And then you have your A1C. And the A1C looks at the blood levels over 2 to 3 months. That number is usually used to diagnose diabetes. And so here you want to keep that number under 5.7. Pre-diabetic is 5.7 to 6.5, and then diabetes is 6.5 and higher, okay? So just some of the things that we can do in terms of heart health, okay? One, we want to start with just your morning mindset, right? That helps just to get your mind ready for the day. Meditation to prepare of what becomes ahead of you. So can't stress that enough, of just breathing, taking the time to breathe, taking the time to get organized before you move forward. I note here that meal prepping is very important, especially if you're working, you're busy, you're taking care of others. The last thing that you want to do is constantly have to worry about, well, what am I going to eat today? And so one of the reasons why I put meal prepping here, excuse me, is because it does allow you to, one, take stress away. It also allows you to prepare your meals in advance, and you know what you're going to be putting into your bodies because you prepared the meals. And then it just helps your day go smoother. Okay. Getting some fresh air, at least 20 minutes. If you're not doing a full workout, at least get 20 minutes, even if you just step outside to breathe. Sometimes I'll walk outside and I'll just walk down the block and I'll walk back. And I just need to get out and get out of my environment of being on calls all day or just doing projects. Laughing, I'm sure you may have heard this, just really does the body and the heart good just to laugh. So turn on your favorite show, talk to someone that you know who makes you laugh, whatever that is, just get those laughs out because it really does do the body good. If you are on social media, taking a break every once in a while. Sometimes it can be overwhelming. So turning off social media so that you can focus, reading a book, whatever that you may want to do is always important there. Surrounding yourself with people who bring you joy, so important, right? As we're going through stressful times, we love to be around, again, people who make us laugh, who we can share stories with, we can do things with, cook with, etc. Once we really get back into doing that. And then reading and journaling. Sometimes if I'm, I just want to read a book that's unrelated to maybe health or whatever the case may be, just to get my mind off of work or just different things that I'm doing that's totally unrelated. And then just journaling, just writing down different thoughts, just different things that are going on that you want to get off of your mind. So those are some of my healthy tips. I'll definitely turn it back over for any questions. One thing that we did want to point out, I do want to get a little bit more into your diet. So again, and I don't want to call it a diet, I would say whatever your regime is, your eating regime is. We know that we talk about fruits and vegetables and how important that is. Definitely when it comes to your fruits, love more of the blackberries, the blueberries, all of those are really high in antioxidants, are really great. Watching foods, again, less processed, cooking more. If you have a garden, I know a garden is another great way of getting out there and just, living a healthy life of getting in the garden and work and taking your mind off of there, and very therapeutic of growing your own food. And so definitely your vegetables that you're getting out of there, combining that, cooking more is very important. So one of the things that we do know in terms of a healthy diet benefits not only your heart, but it also benefits your brain. And so that is very important there. We do know that there is a connection between heart health and brain health, with anyone who has hypertension increasing their risk of Alzheimer's and dementia. And so again, what you're putting in your body and things that you're doing for your heart, you're also going to be doing for your brain. So on that note, I'll turn it back over to Shanette if there's any questions or anything else that I can answer or speak on.
All right, thank you so much for all that amazing information about heart health, especially the connection between the heart and the brain. Okay, so for everybody that has any questions for Ms. Vicki Williams, if you would please go to the bottom of your screen and click on the reactions icon, and then you're going to click on the raise your hand, which I know many of you already know how to do. And when you raise your hand, it's going to alert us that you want to ask a question. And then you're going to see the request to unmute, and then we'll unmute you. And then for those of you who want to put your questions in the chat, we'll also be monitoring the chat so we can make sure we get your questions answered, okay? All right, so it looks like our first person has a question is Sedalia. Sedalia?
Yes. Hello.
Unmute.
Yes. I'd like to know, that you guys expect, say, a 20-year-old, a 45-year-old, a 70-year-old, all to have the same blood pressure?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
Absolutely not. Yep. So that's, again, a conversation to have with your doctor. Because I'm not a licensed doctor or nurse, but no, we definitely do not. The other thing, that comes into account is, again, family history, right? Your own history, your family's history. So everyone is different. And so there definitely isn't a one size fits all when it comes to certain.
Okay. Okay, great. Thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you, Sedalia.
Uh-huh.
All right, do we have any other questions?
Is that Lawrence? Is he raising is
Let's see, I don't,
Louise? Is it Louise? I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing it wrong. Raising
there, well, I see
and
Gwen, because I can't see from my side, so Gwen
okay.
Knight.
Okay. Hi, Gwen.
Hi, my question is about cholesterol, because I'm not a big meat eater.
Okay.
Eat a lot of vegetables and don't eat really red meat. Uh, but my cholesterol stays high.
Okay. Okay. And do you have is cholesterol in your family? And the reason why I ask is I'm with you on that, but I know that from a family standpoint, my family does have high cholesterol. And so I'm working with my doctor. I'm like, what is going on? I'm watching my meat. I'm eating more fruits and vegetables, definitely eliminating anything animal based. And it is a little higher than where I would want it to be. Do you know by any chance, Gwen? Do you also know? So there's the two numbers, the LDL and the HDL. Do you know if that HDL is definitely where you want to keep high? How's that number?
Uh, I have to look at my last test. I just spoke with my doctor just a week ago and asked, because she runs some tests on me to
Okay.
check my cholesterol level. Because like they've always been a little over. Both numbers have been going in the wrong direction,
Okay. Okay.
no matter what I've done. And they have me on this statin, but I have these side effects, so I don't like that. And I was just, want to find another way.
Gotcha. So you were diagnosed with high cholesterol and just looking to help manage it through your diet, right?
Correct.
Okay. And just without knowing everything, right?
Mhm.
Is definitely constant work of just remembering, even I love cheese, but cheese is animal based, right? So just making sure you're digging into everything. And then also your family history, again, just knowing that. I had a friend who also had her high cholesterol was high. But because of the family history, she worked out, watched what she eats, but it also maintained high. So she's just under the care of her doctor.
We are, because I mean, exactly. I'm a grandmother. That's what.
Well, like I eat a lot of dairy.
You
I,
do?
I
Okay.
eat,
And
I
is
eat,
it
I eat
animal-based dairy or is it vegan-based dairy, plant-based?
no, I do cream cheeses and
Okay.
uh, different type of cheese. They're probably all animal based because I like cheddar and
Right. So
uh,
so there you've got that's going to contribute to it as well. I don't know how much, but at the same time, if you're doing anything animal-based, then yes, that's going to contribute.
well, that's what I'm saying. Like mostly I eat chicken and fish,
Hmm.
and
Which still,
oh
as you know, has, well, the chicken definitely has the cholesterol in it because it's an animal. And then you've got some of the benefits. So I would just continue to work with your doctor, I don't know if you want to work with a nutritionist or just making sure you're really thoroughly looking at your diet to cover everything.
okay,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah. Just to cover everything as much as possible.
okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Awesome. Yeah, that's great because I'm happy that you're talking about the food connection and that eating plant-based is a much healthier way, which we have Let's Get Cooking
Right.
classes that we do on Thursday, and we just do all plant-based meals just to help incorporate some of that, for all of our participants and for myself. It's really good. But I have a question, like with dairy products like such as cheese and milk, is that like artery clogging? Would that be considered like artery clogging types of food?
You know, I, So a couple of things. I wouldn't say it's artery clogging, but again, it is going to increase your LDL. And what happens is, you look at it from this is your artery, right? So if your LDL cholesterol is rising, that means that the cholesterol is building around the artery wall, right? And theoretically, the HDL, they call it the LDL. They sometimes people do the analogy that it's the garbage, and the HDL are the garbage pickers, right? So when you've got your HDL, which is your good fats, your olive oil, your nuts, your omegas, right? Those help to come around and eliminate some of the bad cholesterol, right? And so again, you just have to, it's a delicate balance. And I'll say this, and I'd say this to my nephews and nieces, and we all know when you get older, you can't eat what you used to eat before. You can't. Okay. And I'm in my 40s and I'm just like, whoa, what's going on? And so you really then have to start to make some changes and take a look at it.
Right.
So going back to, I don't know if you want to say they're artery clogging, but they will contribute. To increasing your LDL or your bad cholesterol. I wanted to comment on the plant-based too. One of the things when we talk about that is you can still be unhealthy as a vegan or a vegetarian, because French fries are vegan, okay? And so the problem that a lot of people may get into when they're doing a vegan or vegetarian is they go very carb heavy. Pasta, rice, breads. You still have to have a nice balance there and not be so carb heavy. The other thing is we saw last year when the pandemic was going on, that they were talking about a meat shortage and you weren't going to be able to get meat. And then you saw this increase in plant-based consumption of foods and lifestyle, right? But even I go and I want to substitute something for Taco Tuesday, you look on the back of the meat crumbles and the sodium is still high. So when it comes to buying prepared vegan-based meals or plant-based meals, you still have to read the labels for sodium and other ingredients.
Yes.
So the best thing is if you're just taking those ingredients out of your garden, that's like top best. But when you're buying it and you're not preparing it, you've got to be careful with what you eat at the store. And even with the restaurants and things, they can prepare some good vegan mac and cheese, but salt is vegan, is plant-based. Yeah. So how much salt are they putting on that? So again, still be careful. You can do a plant-based diet right, and you can do a plant-based diet wrong.
Right. Okay, so thank you very much for that answer. We have a question from the chat from Aura. Hi, Aura.
Hello.
What are the numbers for diabetes again, please?
So for if you're looking at being diagnosed, so when you're fasting, so if you go in and you take the test, you want to fast, right? Because that gives you the most accurate. Ideally, you want to keep the daily number under 100. So that's sort of like where you're at right now on this day, okay? You want to keep that under 100. Now, when they do your A1C, as I noted on the slide, you want to keep that number, want that to be under 5.7. When you start to go above that, you start to get into pre-diabetic, and then it was 6.5 is where you're diagnosed with diabetes. So you want to keep it in that range. Now, some things that we want to do for diabetes, right? Again, we want to watch those carbs, because what's happening is your body, the sensors that when the sugar enters the body, the sensors are not acting like they should to turn that into energy. So it just lays in your bloodstream, right? And so we want to get those sensors working again. So you definitely want to watch your sweets, your sodas, right? I'm from the Midwest, so we say pop. So you want to watch all of that. You want to watch your pastas, your rice. Again, those carbs, potatoes. I'm a potato chip fanatic, but I need to watch that. One of my favorite meals in the whole wide world is a good sandwich and potato chips, but can't have that all the time. It's a treat, because you've got sugar on top of salt, bad combination of a meal, but it's so good. So again, just really watching, you know, water is one of the best things. Doing your spa waters, muddling some strawberries and blueberries into your water, sipping on that with some lemon. And remember that lemon is cleansing, right? So that's why some people start the morning off with hot water and lemon to help wake up that system and to help cleanse it a little bit. A little bit of apple cider vinegar. You're hearing a lot about that nowadays, as well. But yes, with diabetes and your glucose, definitely watching those carb-heavy foods as well.
All right, awesome. Thank you so much.
So I see the comment here about, was it 6.5? So I don't know if your friend already has diabetes or how long she has had diabetes. So for her, maybe that could be fine, right? But for me, having not been diagnosed with diabetes, I would not want my A1C to get up there. But again, these are all conversations that you want to have with your doctor. It's almost like if you have hypertension, then again, maybe 120 over 80 is not the number that your doctor wants to work toward. I know when we work with our clinics, we're working to get patients controlled at 140 over 90, or I'm sorry, 140 over 80. That's what we consider control. Again, that's not 120 over 80, but it's 140 over 80 to say, you know what, you're controlled with your hypertension. So again, it's a conversation with your doctor based on your history, your health history, and the treatment that you've been getting under him or her.
Thank you. Or do we have any more questions? Can you either raise your hand or click the hand raising icon so we can see? Anyone? I'm gonna kind of scroll through just so I can make sure that I'm not missing anybody that has. And I just saw one, Gwen Gates.
Hey, thanks, Vicki, for being here. You know, I really liked your comment regarding growing your own vegetables.
Yes.
Because that is really good. And not only, of course, it's good for our health, but it's also therapeutic for us.
Yes.
And it's a way in which that we can actually, you know, let go of some stresses and things like that. I've actually started my vegetable garden a couple of years ago, and I was so elated when I first harvested my big batch of spinach. I felt like I was the gardener, okay?
Yes,
farmer,
and it gets addictive, right? Then you're like, what else can I grow?
Yes. So it's really good, really good. Yeah. Thanks for sharing that. And I encourage everybody also to do that. That might be something we might do later on. Shanette will talk to you more about that later.
Yes, even if it's a planter garden, you know, depending on where your space is, just getting a planter of herbs or of a tomato and watching it grow. So there's little things that you can do given the space that you have.
Yeah,
exactly. And just going out there and picking it and slicing it, eating it. Oh, you're cooked.
You're hooked. And doing it with the grandbabies too. That's a better way of introducing
sharing
them.
that, teaching them too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes. So I was going to say one of the projects that we're working on right now is at some time in May. We don't have an exact date yet, but we are going to have a gardening class.
Nice.
To substitute for one of our Let's Get.
Somebody's happy.
Found someone who's going to teach that class. We're just trying to figure out the logistics and some of this finer details about how we're going to do it, but it's definitely happening because we know that learning how to grow your own food and eating healthy, it's a really important part of the process. And so, you know, it's one thing for us to introduce lots of fruits and vegetables, you know, into our diet, but then to show and to learn how to grow our own vegetables is just really exciting. So know that is coming. I promised you guys. And so, all righty. Do we have any other questions for Ms. Williams? Anyone?
Yes.
Lucille? Hi, Lucille.
Hi, I just wanted to say hi to Vicki.
Oh,
Vicki.
Jackson, Miss Jackson, you fooled me. How are you?
I'm great. I've been here ever since the beginning of The Good Life.
All right. Well, miss coming over there to see you guys.
Thank you. And you know, we had a garden until the pandemic came.
Sure did. Okay.
Yes. It looks like Valerie B has a question. Hi, Valerie.
Hello. Oops.
No, you were unmuted. Wait, now you're muted. There you go.
Okay, it's a very good lecture, and I was wondering if you could make a comment about the role of inflammation in heart disease. It's become quite a factor in Alzheimer's as well, and what the advantages of a plant-based diet might be in reducing inflammation.
Oh, okay. Well, so good question. I can't speak too much to inflammation and connecting those together, but what I do know, we've talked about this in terms of the foods that we eat in terms of the inflammation, right? Using turmeric, which we know is a great spice that helps with that, putting that into your smoothies. Of course, I use it on my chicken and other proteins that I do. So with that being said, definitely, inflammation when it gets to a certain point is of concern, right? And I always lead that back to the doctors of working with your physician on how that is impacting your life. But again, going back to that healthy diet as you can get, of watching the foods that lead to inflammation and those that help combat that. And one of the ones that I do talk about is definitely turmeric, which is definitely one of the anti-inflammatory ingredients out there to use. But it also just goes when like I said, when we get a certain age and our body starts to respond to certain foods and certain things, that's a good time to really start to dig into what foods do for the body, right? Because we know that they're filled with all these great vitamins and nutrients, and they're there to make the body flow and move the way that it should move. And so it's always a good learning process of knowing what you're putting into your body. And that's why we advocate so much of cooking, because you're knowing exactly what you're putting in. And if you're using different parsley and basil and different things, they all have medicinal benefits to them. And therefore, so eating from the earth, you just cannot go wrong. You really, really cannot.
Yes.
Eating from the ground cannot go wrong.
Exactly. I completely agree. Thank you so much for your
Thank you.
question. Do we have any other questions before we close out? It looks like everybody's question was answered. Let's see, nothing in the chat. All right. I think we are good. Well, thank you so much, Vicki. We really appreciate your time. Very informative webinar that you just provided for our folks, the Good Life program. We're very, very, very appreciative to that. We want to once again thank UC Davis School of Medicine, East Oakland Sports Center, and the East Oakland and City of Oakland Parks and Recreation, California Department of Health, and the National Institute of Health. We want to thank Gwen Gate for curating this webinar for us. Thank you so much, Gwen. We really appreciate wonderful speakers that you bring to Mind, Body, and Spirit. And we definitely want to thank you all. And please make sure that you guys are tuning in for our next month's speaker for Mind, Body, and Spirit. And of course, tomorrow for Let's Get Cooking, because I think we're actually using turmeric tomorrow.
Yeah, cool.
Indian food tomorrow.
Yes, and the smoked turmeric. Don't forget that one. There's turmeric and the smoked turmeric.
Yes, and so that's going to be a whole lot of fun. And let's see. Oh, so next week, not next week, next month, join us on May 26th for our next Mind, Body, and Spirit. We'll be focusing on eye health with Dr. Ingrid Fairness. And if you make sure that you guys are all registering for classes at thegoodlifepath.org. And that's all I have for you. So thank all of you guys so much for tuning back in with us. We really appreciate you. And we'll see you next time.
All right. Thank you. Bye.